Okay guys, welcome to my first YouTube video. So in this video I want to discuss pre-workout nutrition and essentially the different food groups and the best way to go about your pre-workout meals for optimum performance. So firstly I'm going to talk about macronutrients. Okay, so first I want to briefly touch upon macronutrients, so what they are and different examples of them. So your first macronutrient is protein, so that's your meats, obviously your whey proteins, your eggs, nuts are a source of protein as well, carbohydrates, so for example bread, pasta and fruit, and fats as well, so you've got your oily fish, so you've got salmon there, you've got obviously oil, nuts and avocado. Okay, so now I've briefly touched upon your macronutrients. I'm going to talk about each one in more detail now. Okay, so protein is the key macronutrient to building muscle and obviously for recovery as well. And your recommended protein intake is between 1.2 to 2 grams per kilo. I'd recommend 1 gram per pound of body weight. It's important to split your protein up evenly between your meals. Obviously that helps with hitting your daily protein goals, because you're not going to be able to consume your daily protein content in one meal obviously. So yeah, split it up evenly between your meals, and obviously it depends on how much protein you need individually, so I can't recommend obviously a specific amount, it's all person dependent, but you can work that out online, or you can just aim for about a gram per pound of body weight. Okay, so carbohydrates are a great energy source, not just for performance in the gym but just for daily tasks. And when it comes to performance in the gym, certain types of carbs are broken down more quickly and others are broken down more slowly. So the carbohydrates that are broken down more slowly are complex carbohydrates, and with complex carbohydrates glucose is delivered to the muscles more slowly over a longer period of time, so it'd be more beneficial to consume more simple carbohydrates close to a workout. So maybe a high sugar food, so like a bowl of sugary cereal or something like that, obviously in moderation. But carbs are stored as glycogen in your muscles, which essentially just provides fuel for exercise. With carbohydrates you want to consume enough so you're meeting your demands that you're creating through your exercise. For an intense session you'll need to consume more carbs in order to effectively perform. Obviously it depends what you're doing. If you're going for an intense run for a long period of time, you'd want to load up on carbohydrates, or if you're doing a high intense leg day, you'd need more carbohydrates just to fuel the demand that you're creating. It's recommended that you consume 5 to 7 grams per kilo of carbohydrates for moderate exercise, and 6 to 10 grams for high intensity, and 8 to 12 grams for very high intensity. So that goes with what I was just saying about needing to meet the demands that you're creating. Fats, like carbohydrates, are an energy source. They're a good energy source. Many people leave them out because, it's called fat, and they're concerned that just means that you're just going to put on fat, but obviously that's not the case. The only way you'd gain body weight or body fat is by being in a caloric surplus. Okay, so according to guidelines, your fat intake should make up less than 35% of your total daily calories. So obviously, as a result, it may be better to gain most of your calories from carbs and protein, and most people do that anyway. It's quite hard to consume most of your calories from fats. So a good source of fat and protein would be like an oily fish, like salmon, for example. Okay, so I wanted to discuss carbohydrates in a little bit more detail. So we have this thing called the glycemic index, and the glycemic index refers to how quickly carb sources are broken down into glucose, so how quickly they raise your blood glucose levels. So high glycemic foods are quickly converted to glucose, so this provides a more fast energy release for your muscles. So high glycemic carb sources consist of bananas, white rice and sugary drinks. So anything with a high sugar content will be high on the glycemic index. Okay, so your low glycemic foods, so they're carb sources which digest more slowly, so beans, oats, pasta. So obviously they're your more complex carbohydrates. As they're slow digesting, they take longer to get broken down. Glucose is released more slowly. Okay, so I want to use this to move on to our next slide. Now moving on to actually structuring your pre-workout meals. Okay, so obviously it depends on when you're eating. So obviously you could be eating close to your workout or a little while before it. If you're eating close to your workout, it would make sense to consume a more high glycemic food. So example I wrote down was a bowl of Cocoa Pops. Obviously it's got high sugar content, quick energy release. Obviously have that in moderation. Obviously don't go crazy and eat loads of sugary stuff all the time, but it can be useful to consume a high sugar food, obviously in the right context. Okay, so eating fats alongside a carbohydrate source will actually slow down their absorption and the rate they're broken down. So obviously, therefore the glucose will be delivered to your muscles more slowly, or blood glucose levels will be slowly raised, or more slowly raised, I should say. So obviously, if you have a busy schedule and you have to exercise straight after work, you're not going to have time to eat and get a meal in. So what I'd recommend is on your lunch break. So at lunch, if you have a lower glycemic food, so if you had, say, a bowl of pasta, and that will get broken down more slowly, so you have a slow energy release throughout the day. So when you get to the end of the day before your workout, you're not tired and you haven't burnt through all your carbs, essentially. Okay, so carry on with structuring your pre-workout meals. So proteins in a pre-workout meal could be beneficial, obviously for energy, but just to make sure you're hitting your daily protein goal. If you can aim to get a good amount of protein in with each meal, that would be ideal for performance and obviously recovery as well. So I've done some examples of a pre-workout meal if you were to consume it close to your workout. So one would be white rice and chicken. So obviously chicken, lean protein source, very good for you. White rice is high on the glycemic index, so it will get broken down quickly, quick energy release. So you've got your protein and your quick source of glucose in there. Also, if you don't have time to eat, obviously you can just have a glass of fruit juice. That'll be very high in sugar. That'll spike your blood glucose very quickly to provide energy for your workout. Now, obviously, you're not going to want to eat a massive meal right before you train, so make sure your meals aren't too filling. You don't want to be too full. That's going to also affect your performance. You won't be able to work out as intense, as obviously you'll be distracted and you may make you feel quite sick if you go too intense. So also you want to select a meal that digests easily with you. So obviously that depends on you as an individual, what meals sit well with you and what foods sit well with you. So make sure you consume a meal that digests nice and easy before your workout. I know protein powders can make you feel bloated sometimes, so obviously if that does have that effect on you, maybe you want to avoid that before your workout, as obviously you'll feel more full and it could lead to you feeling more sick, essentially. Right, so finally I want to talk about how you would approach your pre-workout meal if you were to eat it a while before your workout. So obviously doing this approach allows you to eat more food, so you can load up on more carbohydrates if you're eating a while before your workout, I'd recommend eating a lower glycemic food, as that will release your energy more slowly. So when it comes to your workout, you haven't already burnt up all your energy and you don't feel lethargic. So an example I used was a larger bowl of oats than you'd normally have. So that's obviously low on the glycemic index. Will get broken down more slowly. So when it comes to your workout, you've got that energy. So a situation where it may be more beneficial to eat a larger source of carbs could be a high intensity leg session or a long distance run. Obviously both of them will create a lot of demand as to where you'd need that carb source to fuel that workout or that run. So you need a larger source of energy, so you'll get that from your oats or whatever carb source you choose to go with. Also, if you're not able to eat a larger meal before your workout for whatever reasons, I'd recommend have your large carb source after your workout, just to replenish the glycogen that you would have used up in your workout. So glycogen is how your muscles store carbs essentially. So if you load up on carbohydrates, it will get stored in your muscles and then you'll have a larger reserve to use essentially. So you don't want to be in a situation where you've got no glycogen to use, as it'll be harder to work out essentially, and things will feel heavier, for example. It will just be more difficult in general. So I'd recommend, if you can't have a large carb source before your workout, have it afterwards so that you're refueled up, so to make sure you have plenty of energy for your next workout. Okay, so this brings us to the end of the video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please comment what else you want me to make videos on. Obviously I'm going to specify in nutrition or workout advice, so please feel free to leave a comment if you like. Please give it a like and subscribe as well. Thank you for watching.